Hey y'all, happy Tuesday. So, we are going to give everyone just a few minutes to come into the room. Hopefully, everyone is doing well. Um, while everybody is coming into the room, let me make sure I go ahead and thank my patrons. Thank you for everyone that is a patron, everyone that supports my content, super chats, sends donation and supports the channel. Thank y'all so much. A special thank you to my VIP patrons, Daniel and Ray Ray. Hello to everybody entering the room. Hey, King BJ. Hey, Ronald, Hot Boy. Hopefully everybody's doing good. If y'all like this hoodie, okay, we do not negotiate with tyrants. This hoodie is actually perfect for tonight's segment. This is made by the homie Trench Dev over there at Trenchwork Chronicles. So if you would like one of these, this is actually like one of my favorite hoodies. So yeah. But all right, y'all. So we're going to jump right into tonight. We're going to talk about some different topics and what's been going on here lately. Make sure as you come into the room, you let me know that you're here. One of the first things that I want to talk about is actually, I would say, a little bit of housekeeping, but so y'all kind of know like what's going on too. If your fridge and your pantry is not stocked, please make sure that y'all are stocking up and preparing for the winter months. Okay, it's super, super duper important. You kind of have some people talking about this right now, but I think that the media isn't really going in about it because they probably don't want people to panic. Okay, at this moment, because the last time that happened, y'all rushed into the stores, were buying all the toilet tissue. People were fighting over toilet tissue. I think, if I remember correctly, I covered a story of somebody like getting shot in a grocery store or something like that. It was like really crazy. But we are already in inflation and it's not expected to get any better anytime like soon. And let me make sure that hey protocol, let me show you guys just a little bit of this of what's being reported. So first of all, let's start here. So the inflation is already suggested to be going into 2022. Okay. So as y'all know, gas is up, grocery prices are up. It's a lot going on right now. So this is according to CNN Business, and I'm only going to just read a little bit of it just to give y'all a general idea. High costs for everything from food and gasoline to automobiles and airline tickets have made the pandemic that much more difficult for U.S. consumers. So, of course, many were relieved to see that consumer prices rose by less than expected in August. But this, unfortunately, isn't the beginning or of the end of inflation for American households. In fact, consumers may not see lower prices until the latter half of 2022. Hey, Edward. So, keep in mind, especially with groceries, if you have the space, if you don't have the space, make some space to stock up on those food items that you can, because the prices are going to probably continue to go up. And also, we're now having shortages in the food supply. If you didn't know about this is according to Yahoo News. Food prices rise to highest level in a decade. Highest level in a decade amid labor shortage and supply crisis. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations released data showing that the FAO Food Price Index, defined as a measure of the monthly charge and international prices of basket of food commodities, had risen 1.5 points from August to September, with an average of 130 points in September. In addition, compared to the same time last year, the FFPI had risen by 32.1 points, or 32.8, the highest it's been since 2011's FFPI of 131.9. Among the commodities measured by the FFPI, vegetable oil saw the highest increase at 60% compared to the following year, and up to 1.2 from the previous month. Cereal prices, this is just talking about all the different type of foods. I'll make sure that I link these articles if y'all want to check this out below. But more importantly, let's talk about this. In early September, the Biden administration announced that it was implementing new measures to combat the rise in prices on meat products such as beef, pork, and poultry, which accounted for more than 50% of the reduced price increases. Now, I already got some concerns about some of this going on in the Biden administration, talking about what they're going to do. If you are a regular watcher of my content, you probably kind of somewhat have an idea of what I'm probably about to say. But let's talk about that in 1 second. Supply chain experts are already issuing warnings to consumers to prepare ahead of the holiday shopping season, as large and small businesses alike to continue to experience issues related to labor shortages and kinks in the supply chain, resulting in rising shipping costs and cargo being stuck in seaports. U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg explained that some seaports are experiencing record traffic, and while they are trying to address supply chain issues, they are likely to do so by the holiday season. So, a couple of things. If you plan on buying Christmas gifts, okay, this year, this holiday season, you probably want to jump in before everybody else does. You probably want to go ahead and start gathering things early. A couple of reasons is because some of these things may be harder to get, and also you're going to see your shipping prices going up. And if I remember correctly, you already had the Postal Service coming out with information saying that I can't remember exactly what it was. Y'all let me know in the comments, but I think something about their hours were going to be changing, their prices, something like that going into the holiday season. So it's going to be a lot of shifts. So you want to be prepared for that. You want to be prepared for these possible food shortages, okay? Depending on where you are in the country, you're probably already seeing some shortages. You're going to be seeing shortages. I thought I took notes here. Pork, beef, what did I say? Pork, beef, chicken, juice products, snacks are going to be some of your most things that you're going to see shortages with. So yes, if you're not, please be stocking up a little bit at a time. It's better to be prepared and proactive instead of reactive, because we just really don't know what could happen at this point. And based on everything that we've seen with COVID, the things that have evolved with COVID, around the lockdowns, the vaccines, the mandates, the lies, I just don't put anything past anybody at this point. So the best thing you could do is to be prepared. And one of my whole concerns with like this whole, oh, we running out of beef, we running out of pork, we running out of poultry, that may very well be the case. And I do believe that to be the case based on the lockdowns, and you had people out sick, and you now have some people quitting because of these mandates and all these other things. I do absolutely believe that could be the case. I do have a fear of the Biden administration and maybe some powerful hands, unseen hands, maybe manipulating or also exacerbating this. Okay. If you remember anything about the green Green New Deal, I believe it was called, and some of the ideas that were being pushed by your Justice Democrats. I think that's what they call them, but you're more progressive, people coming into Congress. They've often talked about and also projected that over time they would try to wean the American people off products, particularly like beef, due to the uh, carbon dioxide, monoxide. Sometimes I get those mixed up, but y'all know which one I'm talking about, okay? They would try to eventually wean us off of these products and try to find other ways to not to lessen like the carbon emissions and things like this. And sometimes when you have these politicians working hand in hand with these corporations, being paid under the table, and all these other things, okay, you will have them exacerbate things, do things in very nefarious ways to sometimes speed up the process of what is happening. So we can hope that, the way that this is handled will be genuine, and that the government won't do what the government is usually notorious for doing, which is exacerbating and making situations worse. So if you're not prepared for that, you want to be stocking up and getting prepared, and you don't want to wait to the news media starts to freak everybody out, and then you're in the store with them on a regular Wednesday and people in there like it's a Black Friday. Okay. All right. So got that out the way. Hey to everybody coming into the room. Hey, Rhaegar Targaryen. Hey, El Muhammad. All right, y'all. So we are going to keep moving. We are seeing a growing theme here, a growing theme that I am very supportive of. We see different people across the country coming out in different capacities to oppose these mandates. Hey, Aaron, we see people coming out to oppose these mandates, which a lot of people may not understand right now. They may not want to accept. You may be jaded. You may be consumed by whether it be the news media from last year, whether it be personal stories of, you having to deal with loved ones that may have been, deeply affected by COVID and things like this. However, I believe most of these people that we are going to talk about tonight to absolutely 100% be on the right side of history. Why I say this is because a thing that we've been talking about here recently quite a bit on Hey Y'all's Tuesdays is this thing that's happening here recently, where big tech, the corporations, and the government are becoming more and more in cahoots, okay, working in line with each other to stamp out and discourage any type of opposition, okay. You may not understand it today, but we have to be forward thinking in regards to these things. It always starts is, oh, we're doing this for your safety. And then that's where the authoritarian nature begins, right? So we could look at that with whether we're talking about the Patriot Act and, things that occur after 9/11, whether we talk about even looking at how long the war in Afghan went on, and troops or that war just finally being ended, but all of the money that was spent, and really to leave, the to leave in worse conditions than in a lot of ways than when we even initially started, all of the taxpayer money, right? Our money, your children's money. You know how the United States saying they're literally like running out of money, okay? Um, all of these things they say it's for our safety, but then maybe I don't know, maybe I don't really think so. You genuinely pretended you care. Maybe there was some threat initially, right? I have a lot of examples. We could talk about the war on drugs. Even that, things like that started as, oh well, this is for your safety, this is for the safety of the community, and now you turn it into violating people's constitutional rights, right? Their human rights. Now you are stopping and frisking. Now you're doing all of these uh, um, no knock raids, going into places, not even finding freaking drugs there. Okay. These are perpetual problems that were created and continue to expand and grow and fester after time, when on the other end of the spectrum it started off as, oh well, this is just for your safety. Okay, so even as it relates to COVID, this is just another aspect within American history of where something started off as, oh well, we're just doing this to keep you safe, and then it grows to, well, you have to shut your business down. You're not you're not essential. You can't sell these certain products. You need to close earlier. You need to force your employees to inject this into their bodies. Okay, so when you don't have a check on these things, they grow and they fester. Even right now, you literally have Nancy Pelosi on camera saying, yeah, we want to check your bank account for $600. Like, so what? Like, we got to get our tax money back, in so many words. And so people who campaign to us as tax the rich, we want to go after the Jeff Bezos and the Elon Musk, and all of these other billionaires want to go after the Walmarts and the McDonald's. They're now, in so many words, admitting to us right on camera, okay, and it's documented that $600 is not a lot of money. Those are little fish that they're coming for. So when you don't take a stand, you don't have a standard, you kind of let these things happen. Oh, it's no big deal. It furthers and it grows. So I believe these people to absolutely be on the right side of history. And I don't give a crap if you have the vaccine, if you don't have the vaccine, if you had COVID, if you haven't had COVID, if you were ever locked down, or if you were never locked down, if you were considered essential or non-essential. Some of these things, something in your spirit just has to be telling you some of this is just going way too far. It's just going too far. So, first of all, let's go ahead and take a look at this. Is right, and I've been telling y'all for a while now. Pay attention to New York and California. Okay, some of this information that has dropped. I was in the shade room comments, just kind of reading some of the comments. I think this was about the story in Texas, and the governor there saying, nah, like, we not doing that mandate thing here. And a lot of people were saying, I wish this was happening in California. I wish this was happening in California. I wish this was happening in California. And I've been telling people, like, for this has been a few years at this point, particularly for Black people. When people talk about California, they talk about how progressive it is, how awesome it is, how diverse it is, and all these other things. But when you actually look on paper, right, and you look at the quality of life, you look at I already shouted you out. So Trench Work is in the building. But yeah, I already shouted you out. So y'all make sure y'all get the hoodie from him. But in California, right, when you look at the rate of homelessness, when you look at the cost of living, when you look at the rate that middle class people are moving out of California, the speed that middle class people are moving out of California, when you look at in the last, I think, decade, the Black population out of California has been cut. I mean, I think more than half. Okay, Black people are getting the heck out of here. That's on paper. All right. So when you look at all these things, you look in New York, you look at the cost of living, these things will be paraded to us as, oh, it's so beautiful and this is where the diversity happens and it lives. But when you actually look on real time, even if you look at some of the more popular police brutality scenarios have come out of places like New York. Like New York, okay? So something's not adding up. Something's not being said here. It's something going on. It's something deeper that what people feel is not translating to what people's pockets are feeling and the direction that their feet is moving. So these are two places I've been telling people to watch. And now as we see these things happening, it's like, you know what I mean? So first of all, let's take a look at this story. This is right in LA County. The Los Angeles County Sheriff won't enforce a vaccine mandate in his agency. The Los Angeles County Sheriff says he will not enforce the county's vaccine mandate in his agency. Sheriff Alex, don't even make me try to even say this, who oversees the largest sheriff department in the country with roughly 1,800 employees, said Thursday in a Facebook Live event that he does not plan to carry out the county's mandate under which Los Angeles County employees had to be fully vaccinated by October 1st. The mandate was issued by executive order in August and allows only for religious and medical exemptions, okay? Sheriff Alex said his employees are willing to be terminated rather than get vaccinated. I don't want to be in a position to lose 5 to 10% of my workforce overnight on a vaccine mandate, the sheriff said. More than 26,000 people have died of the coronavirus in Los Angeles County, which is the nation's most populous county. Of the county, roughly 10 million residents, 78% have received at least one COVID-19 vaccine dose, and 69% are fully vaccinated, according to public health officials. Health officials said the county has reported 14 deaths a day on average, even though deaths and hospitalization figures have plunged by some 50% since late August. Sheriff Alex's announcement came a day after the city of Los Angeles approved one of the nation's strictest vaccine mandates, a sweeping measure that requires the shots for everyone to enter bars, restaurants, nail salons, gyms, or even Laker games. So first of all, this is one disrespectful, okay? This is one interesting and almost disrespectful part of this. The fact that you need muscle to enforce mandates. And if the freaking sheriff is like, I'm not sending my people, I'm not forcing my people to get vaccinated. Do you then, if somebody calls and say, hey, this person refuses to show us their vaccine passport, do you now send somebody from that workforce that may not even be vaccinated out to handle this other person? Like, I'm not exactly sure how they're gonna handle that, but for one reason, I don't blame this person for not wanting to lose part of their workforce. Okay, we're going to talk about that tonight, going in with the Southwest thing. But as you can see, as we already just talked about, we're already having food shortages because of labor shortages. You have people losing workforces overnight. And when you actually see some of these people interview, like people particularly in New York and California, these people are sad, but you're not standing up for anything. You're going for it. And then Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden don't have to deal with the loss of money. They don't have to deal with paying back PPP loans. They don't have to deal with irate customers. They don't have to deal with the anxiety or all of the issues that come with hiring more manpower and security to turn away unvaccinated or people that just don't want to even freaking prove they're vaccinated. People, customers, they don't have to face these issues head on. They get to go and make a press conference and go back to their office or go back to their home and be comfortable while we have to deal with these things, right? You now have some people that are already saying the government is getting ready to come for these people with these PPP loans. They're ready to get their money back. $600 in your account, they're coming for you. That little $1,200 that they gave y'all, oh, cool. We'll let you have that. You got to give all that back. Not only are they about to find new ways to tax us, okay, you're going to have the middle class really take a hit because I saw something the other day about upping, what is it called? Like the food stamps. Okay. But you had a middle class that's going to really feel the brunt of this, inflation on your food, your gas. Then you're about to turn around and possibly tax more. Then they're possibly talking about a mileage tax. And then they got the nerve to say they're going to be checking your bank account. So the LA County Sheriff comes out and says, we're not doing this. I don't want to do it. Bruce and my managers are asking for proof of vax by 10/31 despite fully remote status and no official HR policy. I'm holding the line. I pray I win this fight. Bruce, I am 100% in support of you. Please hold the line. Please stay steadfast. If they will allow any type of exemptions, please do try that. But definitely there were a lot of people that were quitting. Please do not quit your jobs. Make them fire you. There are also going to be a class act law. Why is this not coming to me? Y'all know what I'm trying to say. There are going to be lawsuits coming, okay? There are going to be several lawsuits coming. So please don't just, be like, I'm out. I don't want to do it. I'm dipping. Okay. Especially if you have a certain rate of coworkers that are not doing it and you can hit that 5 to 10 to even higher percent ratio, depending on the company, some people, maybe like the same thing. No, I'm not willing to lose this much of my workforce overnight. So thank you for the super chat. Bruce said, LA County PD and Southwest Airlines are reminding us that we may not run the companies, but collectively we make the companies run. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you for the super chat. Class action lawsuit. Thank you, Racer X. But yes, y'all gonna see a lot of class action lawsuits coming up. You're gonna see things worked up to the Supreme Court. So yes, hold the line, okay? Hold the line. So now let's talk about Kyrie Irving, okay? So there's this whole hoopla about Kyrie Irving, his vax status, NBA players' vax status. I want to know why I haven't heard anything about the hockey team's vax status. I haven't heard anything about the baseball team's uh, vax status. Okay. For some reason, it's this overreaching obsession with what the NBA players are doing. Right under that is the NFL players. I wonder why that is. You can probably guess for yourself, okay? But let's go ahead and take a look at this. This is according to why is this playing? This is according to the New York Post. Nets ban Kyrie Irving from team until he's vaccinated. Brooklyn has told Kyrie Irving he can't be a part-time Net. The all-star point guard has refused to get a COVID-19 vaccine, and the Nets announced Tuesday that he won't be part of the team until he does. In essence, get vaccinated or get gone. Given the evolving nature of the situation and after thorough deliberation, we have decided Kyrie Irving will not play or practice with the team until he is eligible to be a full participant, Brooklyn general manager Sean Marks said in a statement Tuesday morning. Kyrie has made a personal choice and we respect his individual right to choose. Currently, the choice restricts his ability to be a full-time member of the team, and we will not permit any member of our team to participate with part-time availability. Irving's refusal to adhere to recent New York City vaccine mandates meant he wouldn't be able to play home games at Barclays Center or even at the Cross River rival Knicks. A recent development had allowed him to at least practice at home when the city ruled HSS Training Center a private office instead of a gym. But simply playing role games wasn't enough. Brooklyn told Irving they want him all in, so all or nothing. It is imperative. It is imperative that we continue to build chemistry as a team and remain true to our long established values of togetherness and sacrifice. Our championship goals for the season have not changed, and to achieve these goals, each member of our organization must pull in the same direction. We are excited for the start of the season and look forward to a successful campaign that will make the borough of Brooklyn proud. The stance from Marks and the Nets isn't surprising. It was likely also collaborative and included input from the Nets' other stars when Coach Steve Nash was asked Monday by the Post whether reducing Irving's role if he resists a vaccine and willingly becomes a part-time player would include input from Kevin Durant, James Harden, Marks, and owner Joe Tsai. Nash said it would. We have a pretty collaborative environment. I think we will all weigh in and discuss it and make sure we're making a decision that suits the group. We're so far from, I think, from that right now. I think we're trying to take things day by day and trying to learn as much as we can about what this looks like. It's pretty unprecedented. If we have information, we'll let you know, but there's nothing to decide right now. So this just goes on to talk about this. So this has been such a big story, okay? So many people have been talking about what Kyrie Irving is doing. What is LeBron gonna say? Is he going to retire? Is he going to be traded? This, that, and the other. Now, I'm not a huge sports fan, a huge NBA fan. I'll watch sports here and there, but I'm not I'm just not super into it. But what I do believe is that you will have several teams that will be very happy to have Kyrie Irving. Now, You had people literally getting mad at LeBron James because they don't feel like LeBron James said enough, right? He should have went harder on Kyrie Irving. He should have told people, I got vaccinated, so should you. He speaks up against this one issue, so he should speak up against all issues, right? Particularly Kareem Abdul-Jabbar coming out and making some of these comments that alluded to this. And, like I said, I have not seen in any level, okay, this amount of pressure being put on hockey players or race car drivers where we know what percentage of them on every mainstream media news source, what percentage of them are vaccinated and unvaccinated, whether they're being berated, whether their jobs are on the line, whether they're being coerced between feeding their families and injecting their body, okay, with this inoculation. We have not seen that. They, I believe, not only realize how highly influential highly influential and visible that the NBA are, but I also believe that they believe they have more control over the NBA. And I also believe, and I know that they believe that the NBA, they believe that the NBA highly influences the Black population. Cheap plug, entertainers are not leaders. Their shirt is available below in my description box, okay? Now, what I have often said is we're going to see what Kyrie Irving ends up doing. I honestly and genuinely pray that I feel like he already made his decision, because if he wanted to get the vax, he would have just simply got it when it became available. Okay. He doesn't want the vaccination. And I can't remember if he said that verbatim, but I know at certain points he said he wanted this to be private, and he may have posed like some questions about the vaccination and things like this. At this point, it's all coercion. That's literally all that's left. So what it's going to come down to is how bad could this possibly hurt his career? How bad could it possibly hurt his pockets? Okay. And at the end of the day, we know that first and foremost, people want to feed their families, okay? Particularly men, even more particularly strong men, okay? That is part of what they want to do, and part of what they're here to do is protect and provide for their family. And you do that with resources and bringing in income. I don't know what all money he has his pots in, if he has that FU money like Dr. Boyce Watkins often talks about, where if your job is on some BS and it can be like, nah, I don't agree with this, I don't align with this, I'm not cool with this, I'm out, and I will use my supplemental income until I get the next gig or I figure this thing out. So I really don't know Kyrie Irving's, financial situation, but I know that we've seen coercion oftentimes bring a lot of these blue checks and celebrities to their knees. That's whether it could be something as simple as having an opinion or that's usually what it is. But it's usually just something verbalized, right? Saying anything that goes outside of the mainstream media, and then people coming for you, pulling endorsements and things like that. And I've often said how often can you actually trust these celebrities and entertainers to be genuine, to be forthcoming, to be truthful, to be honest, when a lot of times their very art or what they love to do is on the line the minute they go outside of the mainstream media narrative? Do we really believe? And I think if I remember correctly, it was it told us the exact percent of the NBA that has been vaccinated by this point. I think it's at in the 90s. Do we really believe that that exact amount of people in the NBA actually want to be vaccinated? Or do we believe that a very good portion of that was like, I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to deal with the harassment. I don't want to deal with the jumping through hoops. I don't want to deal with the backlash. I don't want to have to speak out and make myself look some type of way. These are things that need to be considered and looked at honestly. And if every single time you have these people that are used to living a certain lifestyle, may have a lot of their money that's incoming already tied up, already going towards this, already going towards that, and believing that the majority of people will forego that to be like, nah, I'm going to take a stand. Like, what's the likelihood of that? Like, let's just keep it all the way honest. What is the likelihood of that? And so you kind of deal in some ways with a double-edged sword, because I guess you can say the more money you have, the more you have on the line, because you have more people looking up to you, you have more people looking at you, you have your money tied up in more things. And so to trust that majority of these people are going to be like, yeah, I'm going to stand up for what I believe, it's probably just not most likely going to be the case. And that's why cancel culture has become such a big thing. We see it all the time with people saying stuff with their chest 10 toes down, and then turn around and begging and groveling, being taken on these humiliation tours and these humiliation rituals, like what we saw happen to Nick Cannon. Okay. And others. He's not the only one. He's just a recent person that's kind of coming, to my mind. But we've seen these people say stuff with their chest and then turn around begging and groveling to stay in those good graces, to keep these opportunities flowing. Okay. So we're gonna see what happens with Kyrie Irving. There's being rumors possibly of retirement, him getting traded. But for him to have to kind of stand out there almost somewhat alone, I think there's a few others and not even getting as much recognition. And y'all can, because I sit like I'm not a big sports person. Y'all can drop some of their names. I kind of read them here and there, but they're not like coming to me. But I think you've had a few others that's like, nah, I'm good. Another very important thing to note, okay, and I mentioned this in the last Hey Y'all Tuesday, is that this is happening where? In New York. In New York. Okay. That is not a coincidence. That is not a coincidence. This is happening in New York, where some of your strictest, okay, more authoritarian things are happening. So it's no surprise this is in New York, where these mandates, they've been trying to push these mandates and are now trying to make an example, okay, out of Kyrie Irving. That's what we see happening here. If he had been in some of these other states, probably wouldn't be as newsworthy. Jonathan Isaac. So Godfather D said Jonathan Isaac plays for Orlando. He's unvaxxed, but Florida is a free state, so he's good. So these are some things to consider when, like, where do your values land and what's important to you? Me being able to decide what I want in my body, that's important to me. And that's important to me. And people will say, you have to have vaccinations to go to school, you this, that, and the other. A couple of things to consider, because the thinking be so limited for me, and sometimes I be thinking, like, do y'all even be hearing y'all still speak? So first of all, let's consider, yes, I went to public school, but not everybody has even gone to public school. I literally know adults that are like have not been vaccinated. Like, so these people also exist and their experiences exist. Is it the dominant experience? No, it's not. And in some ways, that's problematic within itself. If we look at if we look at where the public school system is today and things like that, and y'all know I talk about that from time to time. But that's the first thing, okay? So everybody's experience is not the same. The second thing is that this is the first mRNA vaccine. So to compare it to other vaccines is ridiculous. That makes no sense. This is different. So to even try to put both of them in the same ballpark and, oh, it's just the same thing. No, it's not the same thing, okay? This is going to be the first one where they're already doing these different tests. We're seeing the effects on the body, what it does to pregnant women, what it does to children. And then it's still to be seen what it does in the long run, right? 5 to 10 years. Okay. If we look at other products like baby powder, cigarettes, all type of things, it was something even recently that came out, and I think it was actually by Johnson and Johnson or one of the companies that does vaccinations. And they was like, yeah, even though this product has been out for 10 years, we're going to pull it off the market because it's been messing people up. Okay. So that does happen. Don't discount that. Sometimes these symptoms may take longer to show up. Now, I am not one of these crazed, like, you got people out here. This COVID era has really exposed like a lot of evil and hatred. And you got people out here wishing death on people. You had people like wishing death on me. Like, don't be mad at me because I'm young, I'm healthy, I have a amazing functioning God-given immune system. Like, maybe that's angering for some people, but like, don't be mad at me, okay? So this has been a very a lot of evil and hatred has been coming out of people. And honestly, I know okay, tons of people that have taken this vaccination. And honest to goodness, my biggest prayer is that, yes, we all hope that generally overall, because yes, you do have some people already having adverse effects, and it's going to happen anytime you pretty much introduce anything. And so, yes, I hope 5 years from now, 10 years from now, everything goes smoothly and it's just great and it's just peachy and it's just keen. And, the unvaxxed and the vaxxed are holding hands and kumbaya, and immune systems are just as equally functioning and everything is good to go. You know what I mean? So that's our hope for the future. Okay. But one thing about science, if you actually believe in science and not just hashtag, is that science is ever growing and evolving. Okay. So with that being said, only time will tell. Only time will tell. Only time will tell. Okay. And the numbers we have right now, the numbers we have right now for my demographic, even before the vaccination, because numbers are important. Okay. I know they said math was racist, but Numbers are important, okay? And for my demographic, it's kind of been working in my favor, okay? So, yeah, we're just going to go with that for now. And for everybody that took the vaccination, because whether you wanted to, whether you were coerced into it by your friends and your family or your job, of course, we're hoping that everything, works out for the best. Racer X said it's time to stand up, no room to run. Everyone needs to assert their rights. We need to vote out everyone, regardless of party, who supports the emerging dictatorship. Thank you, Racer X, for the super chat. Thank you so much. And you are absolutely right. So let's talk about Southwest. Okay. So as y'all know, there were several cancellations with Southwest Airlines recently. This was a very huge story. Southwest canceled more than 2,000 weekend flights, and the disruption continues. This is according to CNN. The long weekend got a bit longer for Southwest customers after the airline canceled more than 2,000 flights Friday through Sunday. The world's largest low-cost carrier canceled 3 of every 10 departures. 3 of every 10. It had scheduled on Sunday, and the disruption continued into Monday, a federal holiday. So imagine the people that wanted to travel during the holiday, they had a little time off, let me do a day trip or let me start my vacation on the holiday. With 337 flights, or about 1 in 10 canceled so far, according to the aviation tracking website FlightAware. The company blamed the cancellation on air traffic control problems and limited staffing in Florida, as well as bad weather. It told CNN late Sunday that getting operations back to normal was more difficult and prolonged because of schedule and staffing reductions made during the pandemic. We've continued diligent work throughout the weekend to reset our operation with a focus on getting aircraft and crews repositioned to take care of our customers, the airline said in a statement. So, about Southwest Airlines, maybe y'all noticed this, but it seemed to be some conflicting stories going on about Southwest Airlines. I believe that somebody didn't want this to get out, that this had anything possibly to do with the vaccine mandates. I think they wanted to, like we practically just read, blame it on the weather, blame it on all these other issues. But yet, as we learn more, the CEO has now come out and made actual statements about the mandates and how they're affecting his workers. So this is according to nypost.com. Southwest CEO says he's against vaccine mandates, blames Biden. Southwest Airlines CEO Gary Kelly says he's against making his employees take the COVID-19 vaccine. This is so important, y'all. But President Biden has forced his hand with the federal mandate. He is against making his employees take the COVID-19 vaccine, but President Biden forced his hand. Okay? I told y'all. So it's a little different for the airlines, right? Because, the airlines have like more federal restrictions and things like this. However, when you have the government, forcing these companies and these corporations, it becomes problematic. This is one reason why I have a problem and concerns with this whole idea of government guaranteed jobs, because as we can see, as what's happening with the airlines, with the post office, anything with the schools, anything that is related or gets money directly from the federal government, you are going to have more restrictions and regulations than the private sector off top. It's going to happen. And you don't have the same leg to stand on when they're feeding you, when they're funding you. You can't bite the hand that feeds you. Okay? So when things like this come up, you have to question some of these concepts and these ideas that are being pushed on us, right? Like even I did a story about a year ago about you had these insurance companies that said they were going to be, I think, like linking up to people's apps and tracking their phones. This was before a year ago because I think it was before COVID, right? So when you start talking about, you know, every person in the country has to have this medical care, and this medical care is through the federal government, you are relinquishing some of your autonomy off top just by linking yourself and intertwining yourself more with the federal government. So these are ideas and concepts that we have to talk about like often. And we have to question these things. We have to think about them holistically. We have to look at the totality of them instead of just the cute hashtags and the bubbly, pretty things like people with pretty faces like AOC like to tell us that oh, that sounds good. They'll throw in words like equitable, and for all and things like this. But when you start to see these things in practice and how they could possibly impede other areas, it becomes questionable. So I just have to throw that in there. Getting back to the article, I've never been in favor of corporations imposing that kind of a mandate. I'm not in favor of that. Never had been. Kelly told CNBC's Squawk on the Street on Tuesday regarding the COVID-19 vaccine. Kelly said his employees have very strong views on both sides of the issue of vaccine mandates, but they were being forced to take it given Biden's executive order. Forced. The executive order from President Biden mandates that all federal employees and then all federal contractors, which cover all the major airlines, have to have a mandate vaccine in place by December 8th. So we're working through that. So anytime you are a federal employee, okay, like I just talked about, government guaranteed jobs, right? Federal employees, federal contractors, anytime you are tied to these people federally, they can mandate, they can restrict, and you don't have the room for the same type of pushback as you would in the private sector. The CEO says Southwest is urging all employees to get vaccinated because his goal is to make sure none of his employees lose their job. If they can't get vaccinated, we're urging them to seek accommodation either for medical or religious reasons. The objective here, obviously, is to improve health and safety, not for people to lose their jobs. Southwest is offering employees the equivalent of 2 days pay as an incentive to get vaccinated and to compensate them for any potential side effects. I'm not sure. I guess they're saying that the compensation for the potential side effects is the 2-day pay. I believe that's what they're saying. And it's actually offensive because the levels of side effects that some people are having, literally like heart problems up into death. Yes, you've had some people that have died from this vaccination. I don't know if y'all remember the story with the girl Tiffany Dover. She was like the first nurse to take the vaccine live on TV. It was like a younger, like white girl. She looked like she might have been in her late 20s to possibly mid 30s, the dark brown hair, and she like passed out like on freaking national TV or something like that. Okay. It's been reported, even then there was suspicion that she had possibly died, but some people are now reporting that recently it's even been even more concern, right? So there's absolutely been people that have died from this. So the compensate from potential side effects, there is no true compensation unless you are actually doing it through the vaccine makers, okay? Which we know the vaccine makers are immune. So there is no actual real anything that would level to uh um a fair compensation, right? And even that, depending on your level of side effects, no money may be worth the level of potential side effects you may have to deal with. It comes after the airline was rocked by mass cancellations that forced Southwest to ground more than 25% of its scheduled flight over the weekend and another 10% on Monday. Kelly and the Federal Aviation Administration have both said the vaccine mandate was not to blame for the recent travel chaos. To be clear, none of the information from Southwest's pilots union or the FAA indicates that this weekend's cancellation were related to vaccine mandates. Yeah, whatever. Yet the Southwest CEO has came out and made several comments about it. So I completely stand behind and support any Southwest pilot worker who may have it was being suggested that they were taking their last vacation days before this deadline of being vaccinated, um and things like that, calling off, basically not wanting to succumb to these mandates. Now what we have to ask is, because y'all know I recently covered where you were having nurses in New York that was like, nah. Now you have the LA County Sheriff Department and his LA County Sheriff and his department like, nah. Okay, you have Kyrie, Irving, and a couple of other NBA players like, nah. You have Texans like, nah. You know, and some of these people that we just named, particularly your airline workers and your nurses, and even your sheriff department, your police officers that were essential and on the front lines, would these people be considered anti-science? Are we now saying that people that worked all throughout the lockdowns are selfish? Particularly the nurses. How can you call people that have literally worked hand in hand with COVID patients and turn around and call them, selfish or anti-science? Is beyond me. But I completely stand with the Southwest workers. I think this is important, and this is one of the bigger stories, more unified, and also somewhat breaks or in a supply chain, I should say, kind of disrupting, possibly making people more uncomfortable, and things like this. And so these are very personal decisions. I think people have to decide for themselves. People have to decide what's on the line for them. But I just don't feel that it's fair for people to be coerced. And then the slap in the face of like the one guy from the NBA was like, yeah, we support Kyrie Irving's right to choose. But unfortunately, his right to choose is kind of messing up our money. That's, basically what, like, yeah, we kind of support your right to choose, but yeah, we got it. Like, you can't feed your family and everything else if it's up to us. But we support. We feel you though. Like, what? So one of the responses, okay, to a lot of what's been going on is Texas Governor Abbott, okay, and this is according to the Texas Tribune. Texas Governor Greg Abbott bans any COVID-19 vaccine mandates, including for private employers. Governor Abbott on Monday issued another executive order cracking down on COVID-19 vaccine mandates, this time banning any entity in Texas, including private businesses, from requiring vaccinations for employees or customers. Abbott also called on the legislature to pass a law with the same effect, promising to rescind the executive order once that happened. The legislature is in this year's third special legislative session, which ends October 19th. The COVID-19 vaccine is safe, effective, and our best defense against the virus, but should always remain voluntary and never forced. The order marks a significant reversal after Abbott previously gave private businesses the choice to mandate vaccine for workers. An Abbott spokesperson said in late August that private businesses don't need government running their businesses. For weeks, Abbott has been under pressure from some on his right to go further in prohibiting vaccine requirements, and one of his primary challengers, Don Huffins, celebrated the latest order. COVID-19 vaccine requirements by government agencies, cities, countries, and school districts in Texas were already banned by a previous executive order, which the San Antonio Independent School District is fighting in court. The legislature also already passed into law a ban on so-called vaccine passports, which could allow businesses to require proof of vaccinations from customers. The latest move appears to be at least partly motivated by President Joe Biden's actions in September that require all employers with more than 100 workers to mandate vaccines for workers or test weekly for the virus. Biden also required all federal government workers and contractors to get vaccinated, leading nearly all the major airlines, including American Airlines and Southwest Airlines, headquartered in Texas, to announce they'd abide by the mandate. In yet another instance of federal government overreach, the Biden administration is now bullying many private entities into imposing COVID-19 vaccine mandates, causing workforce disruptions. Okay, this is why you're going to be running out of your beef, pork, chicken, snacks. If you weren't here at the beginning of this live video, we talked about this. If you are not stocked up, make sure you are stocked up before the media starts getting this information out more and people go into panic buy. So you want to be forward thinking and prepared. Causing workforce disruptions that threaten Texas' continued recovery from the COVID-19 disaster, Abbott said in his order. About 52% of Texans are fully vaccinated. Abbott was vaccinated on TV and has previously advocated for people to get the shot, but in recent months, as the Delta variant caused another upswing in cases and hospitalization, he has concentrated his political capital toward fighting vaccine and mask mandates from local school districts and governments. So you have some people, okay, that feel that what Abbott is doing is wrong and is basically on the opposite end of the spectrum of what Biden is doing, right? So Biden says we're going to force these companies to mandate the vaccine. And Abbott basically turns around and says, we're going to force these companies to not do so. Now, in a perfect world, and in an American where the politicians actually stuck to the Constitution and the principles of our human rights and our civil rights and things like this, you would have an America that looks like the freedom to choose, and that freedom to choose would be applied equally, right? Across sector, okay? Whether that be private, private or not, that would be applied equally, okay? Across demographic, that would be applied equally across geographic location. However, unfortunately, when you have people that have literally either forgotten or have completely ignored the principles that they swore to uphold and protect, you have what you have now. You get what you have now. Is that you have each team responding to the other instead of people putting the principles first, okay? Putting the people first. This is what you have happening. And then you have companies like Southwest getting caught up in the middle. So Southwest says, we don't freaking like this. We don't agree with this. We don't like what Biden is doing. And so Abbott comes out with a response and he's like, we'll do the complete opposite. Okay? This whole coercion thing, when you have a president that gets on TV and not only this is willing to take on paper that, you know, this is a mandate, this is what we are going to do, has a nerve to tell citizens like, we're basically getting tired of y'all. We're getting tired of dealing with this, talking to us in this very parental, authoritarian way. Okay. And forcing companies' hands, bullying companies that might not want to do this. What if me and my 101 employees vote democratically in our situation and we say, nah, like, we don't want to do that? What if as a business owner, I say, nah, I don't, if you, hey, employees, my 101 employees or my 100.5 employees, because my person over the 100th is a midget or something. I don't know. Okay. I don't want to force y'all to do that. I am going to allow you to have the choice, do what makes you feel comfortable. I don't know your medical history. I don't know your family history. I don't know what you're dealing with. I don't know your religious beliefs. I don't know your dietary or, beliefs. I don't know your freaking trauma in this country as it relates to this country. You may have anxiety, right? And mental health issues, because everybody cares about mental health issues right now, right? Am I right? So what if you have a person who is literally dealing with mental health issues as a result from everything that has happened in this country, how the government has often worked in cahoots and hand in hand with these corporations and these agencies, as they have oftentimes, sometimes their products have killed people, have done experiments on people, have been known to steal and sell the organs of its people, right? I don't know how knowing all of this information is affecting you mentally. Me as an employer, I don't have the heart to make people do that. But you have a president that's going to get on TV and say, no, like, you have to do this. I think this is a very unfortunate, I think it's a very unfortunate situation for so many people. I think it's very unfortunate that people who just were shouting to the mountaintops how racist voting IDs were, do not see the hypocrisy as it relates to traveling. Okay, vaccine IDs. Um, do not see the hypocrisy, do not see how this could be problematic in the future. Refuse to acknowledge we're all super black squared, Twitter squared out last year, and absolutely refuse to acknowledge that Black Lives Matter of New York has protested of these vaccine mandates is racist, will completely turn a blind eye and pick and choose when a lot of these things in theory and in practice are comparable and have similarities and have similar things, but will completely ignore it, not even acknowledge it, not even mention the possibilities. Not will even allow these things to be uh uh introduced, okay, as evidence and having these similarities is questionable to me, at the least. Very questionable. And I do not know that I can trust such hypocritical people, because I, for one, definitely see some overlapping themes here. Because, for one, voting or not voting does not uh, directly and immediately remove your source of income, remove the food off of your table, and the roof over your head. But being coerced into do this to your body, do this to your body, or you can't work, you don't eat, is just something totally different. And I would say, in many regards, worse. And you have people saying, "Oh, well, the vaccinations aren't just the vaccine, the mandates, the passports aren't just affecting Black people. So how can you call this racist?" Like, do people even be hearing themselves talk? The same exact thing can be said for voting IDs. The same exact thing can be said for practically anything or any conversation that we're having. And to see people be so hypocritical and try to change and tweak their arguments now is so disingenuous that it makes my brain hurt. It's never been like this affects all of this group of people or else, or all or nothing. It's never been that. It's always been this highly affects this demographic at higher rates because. But now all of a sudden, you got caveats. Oh, well, no. Now you want to add commas. Well, but this whole picking and choosing and trying to decide, and I mean, I kind of believe in these principles, but only when it works in my favor, or it's my flavor ice cream, or it's my side of the aisle, or it's what I'm thinking today, or it's my team. Sickening, man. It's sickening. And I am trying to call out and expose these contradictions. The people last year that were so for freedom and this and that and everything that affects Black people at a higher rate is racist. These people are silent, either completely silent or completely trying to find a way to wiggle out of those same arguments. Like, And I've been saying that whole like, voter ID is racist. You know what I'm saying? Your ancestors died for your right to vote. I been said all that was game anyway. I like all this been game. Like and even Malcolm X, like decades ago, freaking spoke on this, how anything that benefits the system and a system of voting and keeping these people in their token positions and using us as pawns, it's like, oh, we gotta do this the thing to fight for. But then when I say, all right, well, what about this? What about this freedom being impeded? What about this as it relates to racism? What about this as it relates to this and that? Oh, it's well, we ain't mean it like that. Sad, man. Sad, sad, sad. Especially for the freaking abortionist. Is that the right abortionist? Like my body, my choice, and then turn around and be like, nah, but you gotta get vaccinated though. Like you gotta do that though. Like, cause that's like different. Like that's not really, your body, because it belongs to the federal government. If you work a federal job, it belongs to society. If you have over 100 employees, it belongs to the CEOs at the NBA. If you work for the NBA, the people that were just against corporatism and slave wages and all these other things, right? It's like, man, capitalism is evil. But the quickest people to be calling people essential, sack riding these vaccine companies, like, and then saying these businesses can treat their employees as property. Your employer has the rights to your physical body. Now, if your employer mandates that and you have an adverse reaction, what do? If you end up getting fired 2 weeks later, what do? If your life changes and you have to go take care of a loved one, you have to move, what do? But I know. Intellectual consistency is hard for some people. You know, it seems to be a common theme here recently. But the unfortunate part about it is, if we don't recognize it, if we don't call it out, not only will these people continue to do so, they'll also be the loudest while thinking they have any moral authority. And that's the crazy part to me. In what world do you have fat people telling me what I need to do with my health? And I'm not even trying to be funny. I'm literally being serious as possible. Like, what kind of clown world? What kind of clown world have we created when you have people that have half the health and twice the size trying to tell me what decision I should make with my body? And then got the nerve to get mad that I'm still here and wish death on me. We've created a scenario where people that don't even got skin in the game to even show that you look. Shawty, you don't look like you believe in science, because the science on fruits and vegetables been out for. I'm just saying, it's been out for a while. The verdict been out. You don't look, you really not the one I not really the one I want to hear the science from, because you don't look like you believe in science. I mean, if we just keeping it 100. And I mean, hey, to this point, to this point, not one time have I went out of my way to tell any random person on social media or any random person on Twitter why they should not be vaccinated. But somehow, some way, yes, I have questions. I got questions. I got questions. I got concerns. I have personal beliefs and personal what I'm willing and not willing to do. I got that. But never have one time have I randomly went to a social media, Twitter person, Instagram person, and told them not to be vaccinated, told them not to wear a mask, but somehow unhealthy people are, we've created a scenario where they feel comfortable trying to tell people that are actually healthy, doing their due diligence, has been very adamant about looking at the actual science. And when I say science, I'm not just talking about what the heck is coming out of Dr. Fauci's mouth. I'm talking about studies that are coming out of Israel, coming out of Sweden, coming out of places in China and Africa. Um, you know, so I do believe, I do believe that the people that we discussed from tonight, from the CEO at Southwest, from the pilots who decided to protest this, from Kyrie, Irving, and Governor Abbott, and the LA County Sheriff, I do believe these people to be on the right side of history, and not because we want to see people sick, not because we want to see people ill, not because we want to see people die, but because of, in a forward thinking way, our distrust for the government, our understanding and acceptance of who this government is and has always shown itself to be, leads us to believe that we should not make such authoritative decisions that cannot and will not be reversed, and will actually continue to set a very terrible precedent. So that's what it really actually boils down to. And if people would be able and willing to listen to this, understand it, and grasp it, not from a ego standpoint, not from a negative standpoint, not from a standpoint of anger, but a historical aspect as it relates to basically uh, legislative, because the more we make okay, the more becomes okay. Bruce said Southwest Airlines CEO just announced no employees will be fired over the jab mandate. They won. Keep holding the line, y'all. So, yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I remember seeing that statement come out this evening. And so, like I said to Bruce, y'all keep holding the line. If you are one of those people who has made your own personal choice as it relates to your body, um, do not quit. Make them fire you, make them look you in your face and note the part that they played in this. And like I said, those class action lawsuits, thank y'all for helping me out with it because I couldn't get it together. Those class action lawsuits will be coming. We will see what happens as we go further. Let's see what Kyrie ends up doing. Um, he may fold, he may not. I don't know. I do know that he probably has just as much support as he has opposers. You know, we've allowed this to become a very polarizing issue, and I could see why it has on both sides. I think people on both sides of this, in some ways, some of your more I don't even know what I want to call them. Some of your more stark figures in some regards have been annoying, I think, on both sides of this, and I could see how pushed the other side maybe further for some of your more what's the word looking for I want to say borderline people with borderline content. um but yeah, so I could, definitely see that. um but I do think you have some people that are very genuine and diligent in how they've been dealing and trying to move forward as we kind of get used to some of the things over the last couple of years. So we'll see what happens. I do hope that people continue to hold a line. I do absolutely 100% support you in whatever uh your decision may be as a free human being, person, adult that can inject and inoculate your body with what you like. That's you know I mean, hey, so that's how I feel about it. um but we'll see what happens. And the crazy part about it is, and why Bruce is coming here is so perfect, is because it only takes a small percentage of resistance um to make head waves. Only takes a small part. So keep that in mind. For everyone who super chatted tonight, I am so thankful. I appreciate you so much. Do not forget, for this really cool, this is like one of my favorite hoodies that I have on. My homie Trenchwork Chronicles has those, and I will actually drop the link below at some point. We do not negotiate with tyrants. For all of my merch, your entertainers are not leaders, anti-status, AR-15s type of girl. All of that merch is available below in my description box. Thank you so much to my patrons. A special thank you to my VIP patrons, Ray, and Daniel. Thank you to everyone for always supporting my content. And we will keep an eye on this. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens with the supply chain over the next couple months. It's always better to be prepared, okay? And proactive than reactive. Uh so we'll keep an eye on these things. I think two things to note is that New York and California, where you see some of these the strictest mandates going on, is where you also have your strictest gun laws, okay? So that's something to note, and that's something to be said. And maybe that's one of the biggest things. Our firearms are one of the biggest things possibly from stopping us from looking like Australia at this point. But we'll see. We'll see how things go further and further, and we'll see what happens. All right, y'all. Have a good night, and we'll talk soon. Bye.